Hello everyone, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today's Tribute USA. We're so glad to have you here with us today. In this video, we're honoring the incredible legends who have recently left us. These remarkable individuals touched so many lives, and their legacies will live on forever. Before we begin, please support our channel by giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing, and turning on the notification bell so you don't miss our future tributes. Your support truly means a lot to us. Now, let's come together to celebrate and remember these unforgettable icons. Let's get started.
It began with a whistle and ended up haunting a generation. Mark Snow didn't need lyrics to speak to us. He let silence, synth, and echo do the talking. His music was mystery itself, drifting through television screens and embedding in pop culture forever. Today, we say goodbye to the man behind the sound of the unknown. On July 4, 2025, the world of music and television lost one of its most distinctive creative voices. Mark Snow, the acclaimed American composer behind the iconic X-Files theme and a staggering body of television work, passed away peacefully at the age of 78 in Los Angeles, California. After battling a brief illness, born Martin Fulterman on August 26, 1946, in Brooklyn, New York, Snow grew up surrounded by music. A student at the Juilliard School of Music, where he studied alongside future luminaries like Philip Glass, Snow began his professional journey as a classical oboist before discovering the power of electronic composition. That discovery would transform television forever. Mark Snow's career as a TV composer spanned over 5 decades, encompassing hundreds of episodes across dramas, procedurals, and science fiction. But it was in 1993, when a new paranormal FBI series titled The X-Files aired on Fox, that Snow cemented his place in television history. With just a few eerie notes, a whispering whistle, and a heartbeat-like pulse, Snow composed one of the most recognizable TV themes of all time. The X-Files theme wasn't just music, it became a character in the show. It embodied uncertainty, fear, curiosity, and the thrill of the unexplained. The opening credits would air, and millions would lean in, ready to believe. The theme hit the charts worldwide, earned multiple Emmy nominations, and helped propel the show to cult status. But Snow didn't stop there. He scored every episode of The X-Files, composing subtle, moody, and cinematic music that elevated the tension and emotion of every story. His work helped define the mood of 1990s television. Beyond The X-Files, Snow's fingerprints were all over American TV. He composed for series like Millennium, Smallville, La Femme, Nikita, Ghost Whisperer, and Blue Bloods. His ability to adapt across genres from horror to family drama was matched only by his incredible work ethic and discipline. In total, Snow scored over 1,500 television episodes, a feat few composers have ever achieved. He was a master of using music to amplify emotion without overpowering it, always present, never distracting. Whether crafting, haunting synths, or sweeping orchestral movements, he made the screen breathe. Those who worked with him knew him not just as a musical genius, but as a kind and meticulous professional. He was known to compose alone, surrounded by synthesizers, layering sound with a painter's patience. He once said, "Music should elevate the mystery, not explain it." And that philosophy remained central to everything he created. After his passing, tributes flowed in from the entertainment world. X-Files creator Chris Carter wrote, "Mark gave sound to silence. His music was the soul of the X-Files. Without him, the truth would have been much harder to find." Actress Gillian Anderson tweeted, "Every time the theme played, my spine tingled." Mark Snow made fear beautiful. Though he never sought celebrity himself, Mark Snow's music became the soundtrack of wonder for multiple generations. His compositions didn't just support stories, they expanded them. He proved that television music could be art. Mark Snow was not just a composer. He was a conjurer of atmospheres, a master of the unseen, the unheard, the unsaid. His melodies were whispers in the dark that made us feel everything, even what we couldn't explain. He is survived by his wife, composer Claire, and their children, on with legions of fans who still hear that X-Files whistle and remember the power of imagination. Rest in peace, Mark Snow. Your music made us believe, and reminded us the truth was always out there. He played villains with irresistible charm, heroes with depth, and characters that lingered in our memories long after the credits rolled. Julian McMahon was more than an actor, he was a presence, a magnet on screen whose roles spanned fantasy, drama, and the supernatural. Today, the screen fades to black for one of television and film's most unforgettable talents. On July 2, 2025, the entertainment world was shaken by the tragic news of Julian McMahon's passing. The Australian-American actor, celebrated for his captivating performances in series like Nip Tuck and Charmed, and as the iconic villain, Dr. Doom, in Fantastic Four, died at just 56 years old after a private battle with cancer. His death came as a surprise to many. as he had quietly fought his illness away from the public eye, choosing to face it with quiet courage and dignity. Born on July 27, 1968, in Sydney, Australia, Julian Dana William McMahon was the son of Sir William McMahon, a former Prime Minister of Australia, and Lady Sonia McMahon, a celebrated socialite. From the beginning, Julian's life seemed destined for public view, but it wasn't politics he would pursue. Drawn instead to modeling and the arts, he quickly transitioned into acting, where he found his true calling. His early acting career began with Australian soap operas like Home and Away, but it was his move to the United States that launched him into the global spotlight. In the late 1990s, McMahon landed the role of Cole Turner, the half-demon, half-human love interest in the supernatural hit Charmed. His portrayal brought passion, tragedy, and complexity to a genre often filled with one-dimensional characters, and fans across the world fell in love with his brooding mystique. But it was in 2003, with the premiere of FX's Nip Tuck, that Julian McMahon became a household name. Playing Dr. Christian Troy, a charming yet deeply flawed plastic surgeon, McMahon pushed boundaries. The series tackled heavy themes: vanity, trauma, and morality, and Julian's performance was fearless. He portrayed Troy's ambition, insecurity, and pain with a sharp edge and haunting vulnerability, earning him Golden Globe nominations and widespread acclaim. In 2005, McMahon stepped into the shoes of Victor Von Doom, the infamous Marvel villain. In Fantastic Four, with his steely gaze and commanding screen presence, he brought a sleek, menacing intensity to the role, one that resonated with fans of the comic book franchise. While superhero roles have come and gone, McMahon's Doom remained memorable for its elegance and bite. Throughout his career, Julian McMahon was known not just for his versatility, but for his devotion to the craft. He immersed himself in each role, often bringing a sense of layered darkness and seductive complexity to characters others might play safe. Off-screen, he was intensely private, preferring the quiet of personal life to the flash of Hollywood headlines. In interviews, McMahon often spoke of his love for storytelling, his fascination with psychology, and his belief in acting as a tool for exploring the human condition. Those who worked with him describe him as professional, intelligent, and unexpectedly warm, a man who could disarm a tense set with a smirk and elevate a scene with a single look. Following his death, tributes have poured in from across the industry. Charmed co-star Alyssa Milano shared, "Julian was lightning in a bottle. He brought mystery and magic to every moment on screen. I'm heartbroken." Nip Tuck creator Ryan Murphy posted, "There would have been no Christian Troy without Julian. He was the show's soul, its edge, its heart. His legacy will live on in every daring character who dares to be both beautiful and broken." Behind the fame and roles, Julian McMahon was a father, a husband, a friend. He valued his family above all, and often spoke of his daughter as his greatest pride. His battle with cancer was fought quietly, surrounded by loved ones, and he passed peacefully in Clearwater, Florida, far from the noise, close to the people who mattered most. Julian McMahon didn't just act, he embodied. He gave life to shadows and brought elegance to darkness. His voice, his presence, and his fearless vulnerability will echo on screens and in our hearts forever. Rest in peace, Julian McMahon. Your flame burned fast but bright, and your artistry left a mark that will not fade. In an era of flamethrowers and finesse, Joe Coleman brought both: a pitcher with fire in his arm and steel in his nerves. He took the mound like it was a battlefield, and he never backed down. Today, we remember a man whose legacy was more than just strikeouts. It was resilience, grit, and the heartbeat of 3 generations of baseball. On July 9, 2025, Joe Coleman, a standout major league pitcher who starred for the Detroit Tigers, Chicago Cubs, and multiple other teams during a 15-year MLB career, passed away at the age of 78. His death brings to a close a remarkable life in baseball, one that spanned decades, teams, and family legacies. Born February 3, 1947, in Boston, Massachusetts, Joe Coleman was born into the game. His father, Joe Coleman Sr., had pitched in the majors in the 1940s and 50s. So it was only fitting that young Joe would take up the family trade, not as a legacy burden, but as a calling. Drafted by the Washington Senators in 1965, Coleman made his MLB debut the very same year, just 18 years old and already on a mound under the bright lights. But it was after his trade to the Detroit Tigers in 1970 that he truly hit his stride. In Detroit, Joe Coleman blossomed into an ace. With a high-velocity fastball and a devastating curve, he became a workhorse of the Tigers' rotation. Between 1971 and 1973, he won 62 games, logged over 850 innings, and struck out more than 750 batters, earning an All-Star selection in 1972. His 20-win season that year was a highlight of a career defined by consistency and quiet excellence. Coleman pitched with intensity and intelligence. He wasn't flashy, but he was fearless. Whether facing sluggers like Reggie Jackson or navigating tight late-season races, he carried himself with the calm of a man who understood the game in his bones. After his time with the Tigers, Coleman went on to pitch for the Chicago Cubs, Oakland A's, Toronto Blue Jays, and San Francisco Giants, adapting and grinding in a league that constantly evolved. When his playing days ended in 1979, his passion for the sport never did. Joe Coleman transitioned into coaching and scouting, sharing his wisdom with the next generation. And perhaps most remarkably, he became part of one of baseball's most iconic multi-generational families. His son, Casey Coleman, pitched in the majors, making the Colemans one of the few three-generation families in MLB history. But beyond the numbers and the legacy, Joe was remembered for his humility, work ethic, and love of the game. He wasn't just a ballplayer, he was a mentor, a teacher, and a baseball lifer. Following his passing, tributes echoed through the league. Jim Leyland, former Tigers manager, said, "Joe was a throwback, a guy who gave you innings, gave you effort, and never made excuses. Baseball was lucky to have him." The Detroit Tigers organization released a statement. "Joe Coleman's arm powered us. His heart inspired us. He remains a cherished part of Tigers history. He didn't chase fame. He chased the corners of the plate, and every time he stepped onto that mound, he brought honor to his name and to the game. He is survived by his family, including son Casey, and countless fans who grew up watching his poised presence on the mound. Rest in peace, Joe Coleman. Your windup may have stopped, but your legacy still throws strikes." He didn't just train champions, he built dynasties. In a sport defined by seconds, Wayne Lukas turned time into legacy. With his stopwatch, Stetson, and uncompromising will, he changed the way horse racing worked and how winners were made. Today, we bid farewell to a man whose life was measured not only by victories, but by vision. On June 28, 2025, the world of thoroughbred horse racing lost one of its greatest icons, Wayne Lukas, the trailblazing trainer who transformed the sport with his innovation, discipline, and eye for greatness, passed away peacefully at his home in Louisville, Kentucky. At the age of 89, his death closes the final chapter on a story that redefined modern horse racing. Born on September 2, 1935, in Antigua, Wisconsin, Darrell Wayne Lukas grew up in humble surroundings, working on farms and dreaming big. He started, not with horses, but with basketball, learning a master's degree in coaching at the high school and college level. But it was the racetrack, not the hardwood, that called to him. Lukas began his training career in quarter horse racing before switching to thoroughbreds in the 1970s. From there, he unleashed a career that would rewrite records and inspire generations. By the 1980s and 90s, the name Wayne Lukas was synonymous with success. He was bold, brilliant, and often controversial, a man who brought a corporate edge to a traditionally old-school sport. With his sharp eye and tireless work ethic, Lukas trained some of the greatest horses in racing history, winning colors, Lady's Secret, Thunder Gulch, Serena's Song, and Charismatic, among dozens of others. He holds the distinction of being the first trainer to earn over $100 million in purse money, a staggering milestone that only hints at his influence. Lukas won an incredible 14 Triple Crown races, including 4 Kentucky Derbies, 6 Preakness Stakes, and 4 Belmont Stakes. He was named Eclipse Award Outstanding Trainer 4 times and was inducted into the National Museum of Racing Hall of Fame in 1999. But Wayne Lukas didn't just win, he mentored winners. He trained and guided future legends like Todd Pletcher, Dallas Stewart, and Kieran McLaughlin, who would go on to dominate racing in their own right. In that way, Lukas's impact wasn't limited to the winner's circle, it extended through generations of excellence. He was known for his no-nonsense style, his cowboy hat and mirrored sunglasses, and his relentless pursuit of greatness. His horses were always the best turned out, his barns the most disciplined, his staff held to the highest standard. Critics sometimes called him cold or demanding, but his results silenced all doubt. To Lukas, the horse always came first. In his later years, Lukas remained a fixture at the racetrack, often seen at dawn walking his horses or chatting with reporters. Still sharp and commanding, even in his late 80s. Despite health setbacks, he continued to train, never losing the fire that made him a giant in the sport. After his passing, tributes from the racing world poured in. Hall of Fame jockey Pat Day said, "Wayne didn't just teach horses, he taught all of us how to win, how to work, how to be great." Trainer Bob Baffert, a longtime rival and admirer, said, "There wouldn't be modern racing as we know it without Wayne. He was the standard. We all chased him." For fans, Wayne Lukas was more than a name in the program. He was a symbol of what was possible when discipline meets destiny. For decades, he stood at the edge of the dirt track, stopwatch in hand, watching greatness gallop past because he helped shape it. Some people chase legends, some train them. Wayne Lukas did both. He is survived by his family, a vast community of horsemen and horsewomen he mentored, and a legacy that runs as deep as the Churchill Downs soil he walked every day. Rest in peace, Wayne Lukas. The gates are closed now, but your race will never be forgotten. Behind the speeches, behind the strategy, behind the steadying hands in turbulent times, there was David Gergen, not the loudest voice in the room, but often the wisest. Today, we remember the man who bridged parties, calmed crises, and believed that integrity should never go out of style. On July 10, 2025, the world lost a towering figure in American political thought and public service. David Gergen, a trusted advisor to 4 U.S. presidents, renowned CNN analyst, and lifelong champion of civil discourse, passed away peacefully at the age of 83 in Boston, Massachusetts. His passing marks the close of a career that helped shape the direction of American leadership for over half a century. Born on May 9, 1942, in Durham, North Carolina, Gergen was the son of a mathematics professor and a public school teacher. He graduated from Yale University and later earned a law degree from Harvard Law School, but it was not the courtroom where Gergen would make his mark. It was in the corridors of power. Gergen's political journey began in the early 1970s as a speechwriter and communications strategist. He quickly became known for his sharp intellect, calm demeanor, and rare ability to speak truth to power, qualities that earned him appointments under Presidents Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan, and Bill Clinton. Yes, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. That alone tells you the kind of man David Gergen was. He wasn't driven by ideology, but by stewardship, a belief that good governance, thoughtful dialogue, and mutual respect were not optional. They were the oxygen of democracy. During the Watergate era, he helped manage a nation's trust in its institutions. In the Reagan years, he served as Director of Communications, helping shape policies and public confidence. In the Clinton administration, he acted as a bridge between generations and viewpoints, a rare voice who earned respect from both sides of the aisle. But Gergen's public service didn't end when he left the White House. He turned to the classroom, teaching at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, mentoring thousands of students in leadership and ethics. His best-selling book, Eyewitness to Power, became essential reading for aspiring public servants. And then came the next act, television. As a CNN senior political analyst, Gergen brought balance, nuance, and humility to a media landscape often defined by noise. Viewers came to rely on him not for drama, but for perspective. In an age of hyperbole, David Gergen was a steady hand, measured, civil, thoughtful. Following his passing, tributes flooded in from across the political spectrum. President Bill Clinton remarked, "David believed in democracy and democracy believed in him. He was the best kind of patriot, the quiet kind who showed up, did the work, and left institutions better than he found them." Anderson Cooper, longtime CNN colleague, said, "David didn't shout, he reasoned. He didn't attack, he explained. We need more of that, we always did. Indeed, we do." David Gergen never saw public service as a path to fame but as a duty to truth, a believer in civility, a warrior for clarity, a statesman in every sense of the word. He is survived by his wife Anne, their children, grandchildren, and the countless leaders he quietly helped shape, many of whom now sit in boardrooms, classrooms, and even elected office, carrying his lessons forward. Rest in peace, David Gergen. You advised presidents, but guided a nation, and though your voice is now silent, its wisdom still echoes in every corner of public life. Long before sacks were a stat, there was Gary Philbin, a relentless force in cleats, a defender of legends, and a cornerstone of one of the most historic victories in football history. Today, we remember a man who didn't just play the game, he bulldozed his name into it. On June 25, 2025, the world of professional football lost one of its toughest warriors. Gary Philbin, star defensive end of the legendary New York Jets team that shocked the world in Super Bowl III, passed away at the age of 83, surrounded by family. He died peacefully at his home in Rochester, New York, closing the chapter on a life defined by grit, glory, and gridiron greatness. Born July 31, 1941, in Buffalo, New York, Philbin grew up in the shadows of steel and struggle shaped by the blue-collar heartbeat of the American Northeast. His tenacity was evident early on, and he carried it through a standout college career at the University at Buffalo, where he became a feared and respected lineman. His path to the pros wasn't a red carpet, it was a fight, and that's exactly how he liked it. In 1964, Philbin was drafted into both the NFL and AFL, ultimately choosing the New York Jets, where he became the backbone of their defense for nearly a decade. A founding member of the team's feared front four, Philbin was a nightmare for quarterbacks, a relentless pass rusher with unmatched motor and a ferocious edge. But it was the 1968-69 season that would etch his name in football eternity. That year, behind Joe Namath's bold guarantee and a swarming defense led by Philbin, the New York Jets stunned the football world by defeating the heavily favored Baltimore Colts in Super Bowl III, a win that not only legitimized the AHL, but helped pave the way for the NFL-AFL merger. While Namath walked away with the headlines, it was Philbin and the defense who sealed the win on the field. That season, Philbin was named first-team All-Pro, and he would be selected to the All-AFL team multiple times over his career. His stats may not fill modern databases, but anyone who lined up across from him remembered his power, technique, and pure relentlessness. After his Jets tenure, Philbin briefly played for the Philadelphia Eagles and in the World Football League, but his legacy was forever tied to green and white and to that immortal Sunday, in January 1969, when the impossible became history. Off the field, Philbin was known as a soft-spoken, humble man, deeply devoted to his family and proud of his roots. He returned to upstate New York after retirement, becoming a quiet mentor to young athletes and an honored presence at Jets alumni events. He never boasted. He didn't have to. His game spoke volumes. Following his passing, tributes came in from across the football world. Joe Namath said, "Gary was our iron wall. You don't win games like we did without warriors like him up front. He was the heart of our defense and a dear friend." The New York Jets organization issued a statement. Gary Philbin was a cornerstone of our most historic moment. He remains forever etched in the soul of our franchise. Gary Philbin didn't just tackle players, he tackled eras. He stood tall in football's fiercest trenches and walked away a champion in both sport and life. He is survived by his wife, children, grandchildren, and legions of fans who still remember that fierce stance, that '83 jersey, and the quiet fire in his eyes. Rest in peace, Gary Philbin. The game is better because you played it. And history remembers you because you never played it safe. He never chased the spotlight, but he always played with heart. Ryan Reed didn't need superstardom to make an impact. He brought grit, humility, and pride to every jersey he wore. Today, we remember a quiet warrior whose story spoke louder than any stat sheet. On July 9, 2025, the basketball world lost a beloved figure far too soon. Ryan Reed, former NBA forward and a respected presence in international and developmental basketball circles, passed away at the age of 38. His death was confirmed by family and former teammates, sending waves of sorrow through the global basketball community. Born on October 30, 1986, in Kingston, Jamaica, and raised in Sunrise, Florida, Reed's journey to the hardwood wasn't paved with hype, but it was paved with grit, discipline, and a quiet determination that earned respect at every level of the game. Ryan began his collegiate career at Florida State University, where he played under coach Leonard Hamilton. Known for his defense-first mentality, strong rebounding, and unselfish team play, Reed was the kind of player coaches trusted and teammates leaned on. He wasn't flashy, but he was foundational. On 2010, Reed was drafted 57th overall by the Indiana Pacers, and his rights were traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Though he wasn't a household name, his journey to the NBA was a testament to his perseverance. He appeared in several games for the Thunder during the 2011 to 2012 season, contributing with solid defense and hustle minutes, especially during a time when the team was ascending to championship contention. But Reed's impact went beyond the NBA hardwood. He spent years competing in the NBA G League with the Tulsa 60ers and became a veteran leader and mentor to younger players trying to carve their own paths. His professional career later took him abroad to Puerto Rico, the Philippines, and Francois. He embraced every culture and gave everything on the court, night after night. In every locker room he entered, Ryan Reed was known not for ego or flair but for work ethic, kindness, and loyalty. Coaches praised his professionalism, teammates remembered his quiet confidence, and fans admired the way he left it all on the court, regardless of the league or the lights. Off the court, Reed was a devoted family man and passionate mentor. He often returned to Florida to train young athletes, offering not just basketball skills, but life guidance, especially for kids from underserved communities. He emphasized education, humility, and the importance of being a good teammate in life, not just in sport. After his passing, tributes flowed from former teammates and coaches around the globe. Florida State's coach Hamilton said, "Ryan wasn't just a player. He was a leader, a role model, and one of the most genuine souls I've ever coached." His loss hits deep. The Oklahoma City Thunder released a statement. Ryan Reed embodied professionalism and heart. He'll always be a part of the Thunder family. To many, he may not have had the longest NBA career or the loudest headlines, but Ryan Reed represented something enduring in sports, a man who earned everything through sweat, sacrifice, and integrity. In a world obsessed with fame, Ryan chose character. In a league of stars, he was a steady light. His legacy isn't in records, it's in the respect he earned from every soul he crossed. He is survived by his family, friends, and the many young athletes he mentored, those who now carry a piece of his spirit into their own battles. Rest in peace. Ryan Reed, you played with pride, you lived with purpose, and you left this world far too early, but never forgotten.